Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So in my little recap of all of my game consoles, going over my personal collection, I kind of wanted to pull out some of them and go through them, take them apart. Maybe you've never seen what's inside, and just kind of talk to you a little bit about them. This is my Famicom, direct from Japan. As you can tell, it's got some yellowing in it. Those are it's caused by the free bromides in the ABS plastic that they use rising back to the top. Now I could retro bright this, but it's okay. I mean, it doesn't really bother me all that much. I wish it was a little bit lighter. You can kind of see back here, and especially in these holes, it used to be quite a bit lighter. So at any rate, we're going to run through this guy pretty quick. I've never actually turned this on. I've never played it. Mainly because, well, for a couple of reasons. The only game that I have for it is F1 Race, which, again, I've never played. However, I've got it. It's all in Japanese, so there's that. The Famicom was the Japanese version of the NES. Now, this came out before the NES did, and if you had to compare board layout, this is more akin to the NES top loader than it is the regular US version of the NES. Whoever had this before modded this, and they put a composite mod into it. Now, when I got this, the mod was done atrociously bad, and I wish I'd have videoed that, but you know, I didn't. That was really before I was doing my YouTube channel and all that. They hot glued everything, and the wiring job was terrible, and I cleaned that up, and I moved the chip around and fixed some things on it and put it back together. I still have never played it. The back of this is interesting. So here in America, our RF switch works on 3 and 4. In Japan, they work on a slightly different frequency, and theirs is channel 1, channel 2. Also, this had a switch, so you could basically just kind of leave this plugged up all the time and flip between TV and game, and it would activate and deactivate the RF modulator in this to give you your video output. As far as power, what this thing asks for, I don't know. I'd have to do some Google searching and find out. Video power, though, really all this thing is looking for, let me unplug this, I'll bring this over, is one of these 3-pole, basically you've got composite, or you've got your ground plugged, and you've got your video, left channel, right channel audio. Just a simple adapter, plugs right in the back, and then you carry on from there. At any rate, let's kind of dive into some of the things on this. One thing to note is the controllers on this were attached, and they were attached in the back. Now, my understanding is, and I don't have the original component cables or the original cables that came with this. I don't have the original power cord that came with it. I don't have any of that. My understanding was that the wires, the cables for the back of this were very long, so you could bring the console all the way out to where you were playing. One thing that I do note that is very interesting is all of the writing on the whole unit is in Japanese, except for Power, Eject, Reset, and Famicom by Nintendo. And even when you flip it over on the back, all of the writing for the power is in Japanese, except for down here, HPC 001, Nintendo Company, 83, blah, 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 made in Japan. On the controllers, you've got 1, and you've got controller 2. Controller 2 has a microphone and a volume built into it, so you could kind of sort of talk to it. I don't think that was a feature that was used much. However, all the wording on the controllers is also in English, and there's nothing on the back side of them, right? Now, I have taken these apart and cleaned them out inside, but anyway, so that's an interesting thing to just kind of keep track of. I did break the original eject button. This thing has an eject lift, kind of like the Super Nintendo did. I broke the original one the day I got it, cleaning this thing up. this is a replacement, but it's off of another Famicom, so it's essentially, not even essentially, it is identical to the original one. I do have the original one sitting over there, but just something to keep in mind with that. Taking this guy apart, super easy. You've got 4 Phillips head screws and 2 game bit screws. And I believe the game bit screws are the 4.5 millimeter game bit screws. Now, as far as this particular console, and I say this particular console, the entire Famicom, Super Famicom, I really, in the grand scheme of things, I don't know much about them. I don't know, RGB and, what mods and stuff like that. Nope. I stand corrected. I did. Feels yep, it is the 4.5. It's just really, I don't know. It is weird. So it's the 4.5. Let's try the 3 millimeter again. It's definitely not going down. Interesting. It's like an odd size game bit. A 4.5 millimeter doesn't really like it. Really don't like the fact that there's game bits in these, and I'll tell you what else is slightly annoying to me is that not only are there game bits, I'll tell you what I need to do. I need to find out if these were originally game bits or these game bit screws went somewhere else, because not only do they not feel right, I find it odd that there would only be 2 game bit screws in a Famicom. That's just not very Nintendo-y. So with this, the board is actually attached to the top panel. Okay, so the bottom panel just comes all the way off. We can set him aside. You can see the controller cables, by the way, coming in. They loop around for cord so that you can't just snatch them out. It kind of links around these back screw posts back here. So that when the screws go down, actually those are not screw posts, they're just posts. Those actually, the screw posts are here, so and pull hard enough, you could bend and snap that off if you really wanted to. Anyway, so they run all the way to the front and tie in. So the original mod chip, or the mod chip that was built and installed in this, it was kind of attached and hanging. I ended up sticking him all the way up here. We're going to look at him. That is not the right screwdriver. And the wiring on it originally was horrid. I think I've got pictures of it somewhere. I'll dig around through my phone. If I do, I'll post them in the video right now. So those pictures are pretty neat, I think, to look at. That's how it looked to begin with. We definitely got to do some work on our power switch here. Our wire legs sticking way up. Nothing huge, no major to do there, but it is sticking up rather high. The wire that I ended up routing this around with is a Kynar wire, but it's like a 30 gauge Kynar. Sorry, his dryer's running out. Hearing things, I guess. It's a 30 gauge Kynar wire, so that I could kind of fold it, everything. If you remember back to the original pictures and the wiring on this, it's just like I said, it's just atrociously terrible. I don't know what clown, John the Jerk, got a hold of this thing. And I don't know if that mod was done in Japan. I don't know if it was done here. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. Nor do I know much about the mod other than, like I said, it's a composite video mod. Now once we get this open, you guys will remember back, I'm just going to lift him up enough to where I can unplug controller A, or controller 2 and controller 1 off of this. When I originally got this thing, by the way, it was also missing this little red cover for the disc system. It was missing that as well, so, you know, I did have to buy that and add him on. It's all going to have to come up as one piece. When I routed these wires, this thing was more than a little bit of a pain in the neck. And this spring has to come off, so that all of this can come up as one entire piece. Everything but power. So we can take out the power switch, which we can go ahead and take out now. So this is the board removed from the top shell, and we can now take our ejector out, and that leaves us with just our mod and our power switch. Now, here's what I'll tell you. When I originally got this, whoever had done this had just draped the wires over everything, and not only had they draped the wires over everything, they filled this entire area up with hot glue. And it was, I mean, when I say filled, like they just took it and there's about 3 sticks worth of hot glue in it, and it took me a good solid forever to get it removed. I did reroute the wires and resolder them and reconnect them all to this. There should be, and you guys are not going to be able to see it, but inside, and I didn't have it, the jack should have a nut on the inside to hold it in place, but this doesn't. It just kind of pushed in, and then he just kind of, whoever originally did this, just kind of threaded it in and didn't just hot snotted it in place. Now, I mean, it's pretty solid. It's not coming out, but it's also not correct. And one of these days, I'll buy the full to-do, buy a new jack and put him on there. Looking at this board again, the layout is incredibly small and also beautiful, beautifully well laid out. There's not really any fault areas in this, and when you look at your huge NES, right, and it's a huge board comparatively size-wise, and everything's laid out, and this is much more compact and smaller. I think this is pretty amazing. This whole entire board, really, I think it is. So on the mod, what they did is they lifted pin, this is not pin 1, but they lifted this pin all together. And when I say lifted it, all they did was clip it. Clipped it in half, and then they tagged onto it and this, and then inserted a new transistor, and that wire is loose. He's got to go back on there, so I need to resolder him back in place. It's no problem. We can do that while we're here. Because I believe that is our video output wire. I believe, if memory serves. Yeah, it just looks like I just didn't get a good solder going. No huge big deal. We'll tune him up real quick. On this mod chip, all we've got is a transistor, and that looks like, let me see if I can read it, what that is. Just a transistor, a capacitor, and a couple of resistors, because this is just an AV mod. I mean, the board is simple, basic, nothing special, nothing to write home to mom about. If you did this, you could do better. I will say at least whoever did it had the audacity, had the audacity to see that capacitor almost looks like it's bulging a little bit, but it's not. But it almost looks like it is. Whoever did this at least had the capacity to have a PCB printed up or bought one. That's probably what happened. They bought the mod kit off of eBay or wherever else, if it was done in Japan, off of whatever site in Japan sells these. And they installed it themselves and followed some tutorial and just did a horrible job of it all the way around the board. They should really probably be ashamed of themselves, but they're not. If this was done in America, then whoever did this should also be ashamed of themselves, period. That's pretty good. I'm pretty happy with that. Give him the full test and he seems pretty solid. I guess I missed that when I was doing it. This is a 7805 chip, and it doesn't look like I switched him out. I could. Didn't get this is a heat sink. I guess this thing warped off the board a little bit. I don't know that that can be fixed, but I don't know that it can't. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. The problem is he's under the shield. And I don't remember if the shield could just pop off or not, but we're going to try and see. Yep, it'll pop right off. So if he'll pop right off, let's fire up the desoldering gun. Let's get a 78SO5 in here. And let's pop a 78SO5 on it. Not for any particular reason. We're also going to fix these power wires because they're just janky and look terrible. We'll fix them once the desoldering iron heats up and we can put a proper fix on them. We could just replace both of these wires with silicone, and we probably will. That's probably what we're going to do. Is just replace both of those. This switch is good. This is a great switch. This is just a simple, old-fashioned. They don't make them like this anymore, and they really don't. That switch right there will last for a million years. And if anything goes wrong with it, you just pull the tabs, and all the contacts are inside. Super easy to get to. Nothing to go wrong. Simple to clean. That is a great switch. Let me grab a 78SO5 real quick. I can never find my 78SO5s. I can always find them. They're always in the way until I need them, and then I can't find them. I keep a stash of these around, 78SO5s and 7805s. I don't use the 7805s very often. Very rarely will I use them, but I keep them just in case I need them. You could also go through this and replace the transistors on the board if you wanted to. I mean, really, there's no end to what you couldn't replace if you just really wanted to. However, there's nothing wrong with this board, and it functions well. As far as electrolytic capacitors, I see two. One here, and then two in here, three total. So there's one here, one, two here, four. And it looks like these, I mean, I don't see these leaking on the board at all. They are 50 volt, 1 UFs. This one is. The other is, can't even see it. Same. That's a 0.47 50 volt. One's inside here. I'd have to pull the entire board apart, and I'm just not going to do that. Could, not gonna. So I guess first thing, since we're going to replace this with some with some silicone wire. Let's go ahead and pull out a semi-equal amount. Clip it off. As soon as I find my flush cutters. Now I'll say this, the wire that I'm going to replace this with is not nearly as large of a conductor as this, but this doesn't need a large conductor. We're not talking about amps and amps of power, we're talking about milliamps. So we're going to go ahead and, on a pocket knife, strip this back, both ends. We're going to go ahead and tin him up. We're going to do the same on the other side. Once we're sure we've got him pretty close to the same length. Go ahead and strip him out, tin him up. And do the same thing over here. Just make sure it's ready. We can solder and desolder all the same, all in one shot, and be done with it. Also going to make these just a wee bit longer than what they are from the factory, just because it gives us a little bit more room if we have to get in here and work on anything to get the console out. We're going to do this wire for wire. Now what I am going to do is, and what Nintendo didn't do, they didn't use the through hole on this, but I'm gonna. Stripped him. No, it's not that. Not that I stripped him funny. It's that wasn't enough solder there to hold him in place. Whoops. Just to be on the absolute safe side of things, load up our solder. There we go. And the same thing again, just to be on the safe side. Actually, let's clip him before I do that, or I'll regret it. Go. Now we're going to pull our white wire first. This wire here is just a twisted mess. This is what this is, waiting to short out and cause us problems. sometimes I forget. Sometimes I forget to. I move this stuff where it's easy for me to see, and I forget. I forget all about being on camera, and that you guys need to see this too, or might be interested in seeing it. And then I go back as I'm editing the video, and I go, well, there's my head in the way, or you can't see anything in the whole shot, because some idiot, that'd be me, has their head in the way and is an idiot, or just didn't have it on screen at all because they're an idiot. Be me. Well, he doesn't want to come out at all, does he? Fix him right up. Chunk down a little bit of flux and flow both sides of this in real nice. There we go. Probably excessively a lot of solder, but those vias are old bitter things is what they are. They're old and they're bitter, and they didn't want to they didn't want to accept any solder at all. They didn't want to be a part of it. Too bad they didn't have a choice. That's good enough. We're just going to gently twist him up. Said we were going to. Nope. Let me take this. This is a work call. Alright, sorry about that. He'll be called, that's my son calling. He'll be calling back here in a minute, but for the time being, we'll carry on with this. So the heat sink on this is only attached through the screw to the 7805, so it kind of can be moved. And I mean, obviously we're going to slide him out because we're going to pull our 78S05. I did put, I think I already pulled this once. Or at least I put thermal compound on it, because that is fresh MX4. Alright, so let's take him. Drop our new chip down in here, and here's the best way to go about doing this, because these can be just a little bit tricky. The best way to go about doing this is pull them off the board with your tweezers, drop in your heatsink, your heat spreader, whatever you want to call him, okay? Get him pretty close to lined up. Get your screw, and go ahead and run your screw in, and because the heatsink will hold in the entire operation here. Alright, be right back. Okay guys, sorry about that. So, I tell you what, my son, his telephone. So, anyway, if you put the 78S05 in, if you put your chip in at the same time as your heatsink, and you screw your heatsink through, the heatsink will hold, because it all screws through to the back plate, that it will hold everything in place for you to solder it in. And that's what you're going for. That's the easiest way to do this, and make sure that you get it in there correctly. I'm going to throw this away that is a very, very, very old 7805. That is a very old one. Interesting. So the good thing about the 78S05s are they deliver a little bit more current. The voltage stays the same, except for they're just a little bit more resilient across the board, and they will deliver up to 2 amps of power. Now that is way, way more than our Famicom can ever use. Way more. However, what that gives us the flexibility to do what that gives us flexibility, I said flexibility, what that means for our console is that it will draw less current on the package as a whole. And because it's drawing less current on the package as a whole, it will also therefore run cooler. Running cooler is, the cooler your electronics run, the longer they will last, the happier they will be, which is what we want. Just clipping these component legs off so they don't stick down and make contact with our board. This also has a fuse on it, which is semi-unique. I'm not sure. I'm not sure which way this went on, except for it just about had to go this way, didn't it? Had to go this way, yep. Had to go... has to go to the outside of this, except for it can't. Can it? Let's see. Sure doesn't want to, does it? Yeah, there we go. You just clicked right in once you got good and lined up properly. Doesn't like it though, does it? It sits kind of off at a little bit of an angle, which is interesting. If we flip him over, there's nothing for the back side to catch on to hold him down. It's got to go that way. Got to go this way. So I'll tell you what. There we go. No. Getting this thing just right apparently takes a little bit of effort. There we go. Click down good and proper. Cool. So, from there, that's got our power cord replaced, which is not really necessarily necessary. So now we can go ahead and reassemble this guy. Now, when you're reassembling this, this is one of those, like, it's simpler than it looks, but it's also harder than it looks type of things. If that makes any sense at all. Voila, that way. So what you have to do is get this guy up here in place, like that. Make sure he's sliding properly. Take your spring, which can be a little bit of a challenge, and fit your spring over and in place like that. Okay? Once you've got that done, make sure your controller cables are roughly routed in the direction you want them to go. Slot in your, go ahead and drop your, sorry, let's do that first. Whoopsie. Go ahead and drop in your power connector. Now, here's the way to tell which way this guy goes. If you look on the bottom side of it, right, look at the bottom side of this, there's a red line. Red means on. So, that would mean, and if you look at the smaller pins on this guy, that would mean that is on. So we know which way he goes in. Always remember, whenever you're running your screws back in plastic, run them in reverse first for a few turns. You'll feel it. When it gets good and ready and locks in place, you'll feel it click in. And then you can run it forward and you won't risk damaging your screw threads at all, because that is incredibly easy to do. And while it doesn't necessarily, you're just rethreading holes that are already threaded. You don't want to do that unless you just absolutely don't have any other choice in the world. Memory serves, I had to route that a certain way. I did have to route it that way, didn't I? I had to, didn't have a choice. Those wires ought to drop down in there and stay put. This right here ought to go right there and stay put. If my double-sided tape holds, she ought to go right there. Good thing about putting it right there is that my cable will help to kind of hold it in place a little bit. Lift him up and plug him back in. It's controller 1. Lift up and just gently drop him right there. Then our double-sided tape ought to be able to get a bite. That'll work. Which will mean because now we're not going to have any rubbing on our wires, which is perfect because we don't want our wires to rub on anything. and we can re-screw down the board. It is important to get the threads back in the original grooves that they go in. So when they put these in here, originally when Nintendo assembled this and they put these screws together, they put these boards together, these plastic holes were not tapped. They were just bare plastic holes, no threads in them. These screws that they use self-tap in and hold this board in place. So they cut threads, the screws themselves do, in the plastic. And if you take out, put in, take out, put in, take out, put in, before you know it, your screws won't hold anything down at all. And the reason, obviously, there's next thing you know, you have some big problems. Because your board or your component or whatever it is not being held in place properly anymore. It's not being held in place properly, or maybe even at all, and it's wiggling around, falling out loose, which is bad. You don't want that to happen. So you want to make sure you get those guys lined back up. See, what I'm really not thrilled with that, but I don't see it going anywhere. We can put our cover back on, perhaps. This cover can be a little bit of a pain to get back on if everything is not just so. And also try to remember too, these screws and this plastic gets brittle with age. So you want to, if you have to put much pressure on it, something's wrong. And so you should stop. Back up, and go at it again. Give it another try. Because if something feels tight or it creaks or it groans or anything like that, you want to stop what you're doing right there. Because you're going to break something. See, something's definitely not right here. I don't know what it is. Got to charge this screwdriver very soon, I'd say. Gonna have to charge this screwdriver very soon, I would say. If you have to force this back together, you've done something wrong. and it's time to take another look. Just looking at this, that's what's wrong right there. This yellow wire got caught up behind our eject mechanism and was not allowing our eject mechanism to move. Which may mean that we can route this wire that way, but we're going to have to do it very carefully. It may not want to go this way. That was much better. Still doesn't seem to like it. Yeah, there we go. That was the one right there. Sometimes just wiggling some things around makes all the difference in the world. Still exceptionally snug. It still doesn't really like it, so let me back him back out. Let's take another look. It may just be our routing is funky for that wire. I think that wire is what's holding us up. Yeah, because it's pinching right here, so we can look at the wire and see. So this is not going to cut it. And that's okay. We will find another way to route this wire. As long as it's loose, there's no pressure, that'll work. So, looks like we have a routing issue that we've got to actually resolve. Before we're going to be able to proceed any further. it's going to eventually rub through that wire. That's the way she's gonna have to go. Gonna have to. And that's where this chip is gonna have to live, right there. All of that is fine. That's where she's going to have to live. And again, this will have the benefit of the controller cable holding down, holding the mod chip in place so that he can't come out, and it will also have the benefit not rubbing. Which both of those are pretty vitally important. Now, we've just got to nail down our routing. Make sure everything's tucked in nice and neat. And we're going to temporarily put our back on before we go running a bunch of screws in this time. So, all of these wires right here are going to go that way. They're going to have to come. Oh my God. Okay. Okay. No problem. Try it right there. Perfect. Nailed it. Nailed that one for sure. Nailed that one for 100% sure. One thing I do like about this screwdriver is it has absolutely zero torque. So if something doesn't go in perfectly smoothly, it just won't run it. When I say it has zero torque, like 2 fingers, you can stop this thing. When you go to turn it by hand, you know, you can go and it's got a good lockup on it, good clutch system on it. But like I said, it does just, the motor is so small, it just doesn't have the torque to do anything. It doesn't have the torque to strip a screw out, that's for sure. Beautiful. And so, because it just doesn't have the torque, you know almost instantly the second, if something's not right, you know it instantaneous, something's not right. But the only aggravating part is, when I say it doesn't have the torque to do anything, like it, I mean, the tiniest little bitty offset in something, the tiniest little bitty, you know, the thread hangs up just a little bit. It just does not have the torque to run it in for any, you know, anything is not absolutely perfect. I think what I need is some new game bit screws is what I need. Maybe we won't have to take this guy apart ever again. We'll see. Okay. Drop our controllers back in. I do love that these have controller holders on them. The cords are terribly short, but I do love that they have controller holders on them. I think that is one of the neatest things in the whole entire world. Why we didn't do anything cool like that, I don't know. I also love how small the board is on them. I think that is also incredibly amazing. So, that's going to wrap up our look at our Nintendo Famicom. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like, subscribe, hit the whole buttons, and do the things. You know the deal. I don't have to tell you that. You guys know the deal well. If you didn't like the video, thumbs down, I guess, or like it anyway, because, you know, you should. This thing's from Japan, dude. You gotta like it. At any rate, that is so cool. That's just so stinking cool. Awesome. If you didn't like it, like it anyway. You know, if you got a recommendation for what console you guys would like to see next, post it in the comments down below. I'd love to hear it. We'll if I don't have one already, we'll get one. We'll build one. We'll make one. We'll do the thing. All that stuff. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you on the next one.